beautiful town by a peaceful river, there lived a very rich man named Mr. Parker. He was a merchant who traded many goods and had made a lot of money. His house was the grandest in the town. It had big, tall windows that looked out over the river, and the house was filled with all kinds of beautiful things that Mr. Parker had collected from his travels around the world. He had a family that he was very proud of, 4 children in total. The oldest was Adam. Adam was a tall and strong young man. He worked hard to help his father with the business and was often seen carrying heavy boxes or making important decisions. Adam was a good son, always trying to make his father proud. Then there was Ben, the second son. Ben was very clever, and while Adam worked with his hands, Ben spent most of his time reading books and learning new things. He loved to read about faraway places and imagined adventures he might one day go on. His father liked Ben's quiet ways, though sometimes he wished Ben would be a little more helpful with the business. But Mr. Parker's pride wasn't just in his sons. He also had 2 beautiful daughters. Rose, the oldest of the 2 girls, was very pretty. She had long, shiny brown hair, and she loved to look at herself in mirrors. Rose liked to dress in the most beautiful clothes, and she always made sure that everyone knew how lovely she was. She enjoyed being the center of attention, and sometimes she would ask her father for the most expensive gifts, just so she could show them off to her friends. Janet, the youngest daughter, was different. She had golden hair that shone brightly in the sunlight, and her smile could light up a whole room. Janet wasn't as interested in dressing up like Rose. She liked to spend her time outside, running through the fields and picking wildflowers. Janet always had a kind word for everyone and made them laugh with her jokes. She wasn't interested in the attention that Rose sought, and instead, she found happiness in small things, like the simple joy of playing in the garden or sitting by the river. Mr. Parker loved all his children equally, but he often gave them gifts from the places he traveled. Rose would always ask for the most expensive things, like sparkling necklaces or the finest dresses, and she would wear them proudly, showing them off to anyone who would look. Janet, however, was different. When Mr. Parker would bring her a gift, she would smile warmly, no matter how small or simple it was. A small bouquet of flowers would make her happy, and she would say, "Thank you, Father. This is perfect." Even though they had everything they could ever need, the family was very close. They would gather together at the dinner table every evening, share stories about their day, and laugh together. But no one knew that their life was about to change forever. One warm afternoon, something happened that no one could have predicted. A fierce storm blew in from the river. The sky darkened quickly, and strong winds began to howl. The river started to rise higher, and large waves crashed against the banks. People in the town rushed to their homes to stay safe. The storm was so powerful that it destroyed many ships that were floating along the river, and one of those ships belonged to Mr. Parker. Mr. Parker had been out on a ship when the storm hit. When he returned to his home, his face was sad. The family gathered in the grand house, eager to hear what he would say. He walked in slowly, his eyes downcast, and when he spoke, his voice was full of sorrow. "My dear family," Mr. Parker began, "I have bad news. The ship I was on was destroyed in the storm. We lost everything, the goods we had brought from faraway lands, the things we worked so hard for. The money is gone." The family stood in shock. Adam and Ben looked at their father, confused and unsure of what to say. Rose, who loved their comfortable life and all the nice things they had, began to worry. "What will happen to us?" Rose asked, her voice filled with panic. "We've always had so much. We can't live without our wealth." But Mr. Parker's face remained serious. "We must leave our grand house," he said. "It is too expensive to keep. We will move to a small cottage on the edge of the town. It will be hard, but we have no choice." The family packed their things, and the next day they moved into the small cottage. The cottage was very different from their beautiful home. It was simple, with only one small room and a small kitchen. The walls were old, and the furniture was worn. The garden outside was full of tall weeds, and it was clear that no one had taken care of it for a long time. Rose was not happy. "This place is terrible," she cried. "I don't want to live here. It's so small and ugly." But Janet, the youngest, was not upset. She looked around at the cottage and said, "I think we can make it better. We can work together and make it a nice place to live." And so Janet woke up early every day. She worked in the garden, pulling out the weeds, watering the plants, and planting new flowers. She worked hard, and soon the garden began to look beautiful again. The small cottage, once dark and dull, started to feel warm and full of life. Janet's cheerful spirit seemed to make everything better. As for Rose, she did not want to help. "Why should I work?" she complained. "I'm used to having people do things for me. I should be able to relax." But Janet didn't mind. She was used to working hard and making things better, even when no one else wanted to help. She didn't expect any praise. For Janet, the joy of seeing the garden bloom was enough. Over time, the cottage became a peaceful, bright place, all thanks to Janet's kindness and hard work. Even though life was harder now, she had found a way to make the best of it. One morning, Mr. Parker received some news. A new ship had arrived at the river, and it was carrying goods from distant lands. Mr. Parker hoped that some of the things he had lost in the storm might be on that ship. He decided to travel to the city to see if he could recover anything. Rose, hearing the news, immediately became excited. "If we get our things back, we'll be rich again," she said with a big smile. "Then everything will be perfect." But Janet was not so sure. "What if the ship has nothing on it?" she asked. "What if we don't get our things back?" Mr. Parker smiled at Janet's worry. "Don't worry, my dear. I will bring you all gifts, no matter what happens," he said. "I'll bring something special for each of you." With that, Mr. Parker set off for the city, and Rose eagerly waited for his return. Janet, on the other hand, went back to work in the garden. She didn't expect anything from her father, but was grateful for whatever he brought. Days passed, and finally, Mr. Parker returned home. His face looked disappointed, and his shoulders were slumped. "The ship was empty," he said, shaking his head. "There was nothing on it. I'm afraid we have lost everything." Rose's face fell. "But I thought we would get our things back," she cried. "I'm sorry," Mr. Parker said gently. "But while I was in the city, I found something else. I thought of you, Janet, when I saw it." He pulled out a lovely bouquet of roses and handed them to his daughter. Janet smiled brightly, pleased with the gift. "Thank you, Father. These are beautiful," she said. But then Mr. Parker's expression grew serious again. "I also visited a strange house while I was in the city," he said. "The man who lives there is called the Beast. He was very angry when he saw me pick the flowers. He said I must send someone to take my place for taking the roses. I'm sorry, Janet, but I think I must go back and face him." Janet looked at her father, her heart filled with worry. "No, Father, I will go instead of you," she said, her voice strong. "You don't need to go back to that man. I will take your place." Mr. Parker looked at her, unsure. "But Janet, you don't know him. He could be dangerous. You should stay here with your family." But Janet's love for her father was strong. "I'll do it for you, Father," she said, her voice firm. "I don't want you to go back to that man. I'll go." And with that, Janet made her decision. The next morning, she set off for the Beast's castle, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, all to protect her father. The path to the Beast's castle was long and winding. Janet walked for many hours, but she didn't mind. She was brave and knew that she had to do this for her father. The sky grew darker as she walked, and soon she found herself at the gates of the castle. The castle was huge and dark, and it looked nothing like the beautiful home she was used to. The tall, black gates creaked as they slowly opened on their own. Janet stepped inside, and her heart raced a little. everything inside was much bigger than she had ever imagined. The rooms had high ceilings, and the walls were lined with paintings of strange creatures and faraway lands. The furniture was grand, but looked old and unused. It was quiet, too quiet, and Janet felt a chill run down her spine. She had never seen a place like this before. She continued walking through the castle, trying to make herself calm. After a while, she finally saw him, the beast. He was tall and broad, with rough features and a deep voice. He looked like someone who could scare anyone just by standing there. Janet's heart skipped a beat when he spoke. "You're here to take your father's place, I see," the beast said, his voice low and gruff. Janet nodded, standing tall despite her nervousness. "Yes," she said, her voice steady. "I will stay here if it means my father will be safe." The beast stared at her for a moment, as if surprised by her courage. "You are very brave," he said, his voice softening. "You are welcome to stay, but remember, if you leave, your father will suffer." Janet looked at him with a steady gaze. "I will stay," she said. "I promise." The beast's expression softened, and he nodded. "Very well, you may stay, but understand this. If you choose to leave, your father will be in danger." Janet agreed. Though she was nervous, she knew that her decision was the right one. She was doing this for her family, and she would face whatever came her way. Now, from this point, the story will be continued in the next part.